With summer quickly approaching, I've been thinking about summer horror movies and which one might be considered the best, or at least the one that I consider the best. You could go with things like The Wicker Man or its modern equivalent Midsummer. Both of those are based on ancient summer festivals, being Midsummer and Lammas. Or maybe you want to do something more Americana summer with the Uncle Sam movie that takes place on the 4th of July and the climax has a big fireworks show. Another in that vein might be Ice Cream Man with Clint Howard. The Friday the 13th movies might be a good choice, with their summer camp location and June being one of the months that always seems to have a Friday the 13th. Or maybe something like The Burning, which is another summer camp movie, but it feels even more lived in and real than Friday the 13th. Jaws is borderline horror, but I don't consider it a pure horror movie. But maybe it's one of the countless knockoffs, like Blood Beach or Piranha. Or it could even be something strange, like Return of the Creature. I mean, in that one, Gilman did get taken to a park in Florida. But I have a contender that I don't think people even consider being a summer movie. Creepshow. I know. Creepshow. That movie opens with a shot of a jack-o'-lantern. In fact, there are 6 shots of the jack-o'-lantern before the first 3 minutes. Obviously, it's a Halloween movie. I thought maybe I was being blinded by nostalgia because the first time I ever saw Creepshow was during the late summer. But I think that I actually have enough evidence from the movie and the accompanying graphic novel comic book to prove that although the opening and closing segments with Billy and his father do take place in October, the comic Creepshow that he is reading and that all the stories contained and take place within is actually a summer issue, and all of the stories have somewhat of a summer theme to them. The first evidence I want to look at is the cover of the Creepshow comic, and although the in real life version doesn't have the same cover, the cool art from Jack Kamen does include the in-universe comic that Billy is reading. The in-universe comic cover has a zombie rising from a grave with the headstone reading Nathan Grantham, which is the zombie from the first story in the movie Father's Day. And Father's Day is the most blatant summer of all of them. I mean, I know Father's Day technically takes place at the end of spring, but it's pretty much summer when it takes place, and it takes place in June, which is considered a summer month because most of it is the summer. And since the cover of this comic features the Father's Day story, it feels like that's the most important story of it. I wanted to pull a real-world example by referring to the EC comic, The Vault of Horror number 35, that has the Christmas story and All Through the House in it, but it was released in February and is a March issue. So let's look at the last remaining remnants of the EC comics, which were still being produced at the time that Creepshow came out, with Mad Magazine. Mad Magazine always has summer special issues, Christmas issues, Halloween issues, seasonal issues, and I feel like that helps my case with the Creepshow issue being a summer issue. The second story, The Lonesome Death of Jordy Verrill, is the only one which could obscure it being a summer story, simply with the fact of the inclusion of this line.
Calls for moderating temperatures and lots of rain. Castle County is going to turn green so fast in the next month that it's going to be almost miraculous.
The turning green line might suggest that it takes place in early spring, and it's referencing the initial change from the dead plants of winter to the first greening of spring. But if we look at the graphic novel, this line doesn't appear in it, only calling for rain in the forecast. And also, let's not forget that the frequent shots of the spreading meteor shit is very reminiscent of the kudzu in the south that grows predominantly during the summer and overtakes everything. It might not be a slam dunk of theming, but I think with all the other stories help propping it up, that I can still consider it a summer horror story. The third story in Creepshow, something that tied you over, is a beach story. And, well, the beach and summertime are intertwined on a molecular level at this point. So just being a beach story in itself pretty much counts towards it being a summer story as well. But with the multiple shots of the Pale invoking playing in the sand and building sand castles, and not to mention the multiple shots of aquariums to help further emphasize the nautical theme, I definitely find that, yeah, it's a summer horror story. Up next is the story The Crate. And just like with Father's Day, we don't have to do any guessing, and we know that this story does in fact take place during the summer. Well, there's the inclusion of this line.
At this time of the year and no other, the campus is almost totally deserted. The summer session is over and the fall semester doesn't start for 2 more weeks.
So summer classes typically end in late July or early August. And fall classes usually start in late August to early September. So that makes The Crate 100% taking place sometime in August. Also, the outdoor party scene, definitely a summertime activity, as well as the early morning chess game scene with the birds chirping in the background, that just has summer vibes all over it. The final story, They're Creeping Up on You, is another one that doesn't directly state in which month it takes place, but there's enough clues that we can deduce it. The first clue being that the super of the building is on vacation.
Building superintendent is on vacation, George. Sir? You believe that? Vacation.
And they say this.
To me.
It's Carl Reynolds, sir. I'm calling from Orlando, Florida.
Orlando? Florida?
Yes, the wife and I decided to take the kids to Disney World this year.
Being that this was a vacation that he took his kids on, leads me to believe that it's taken place during summer vacation, summer break from school. The other clue is this line.
Another son of a bitchin' blackout.
Saying another blackout makes me think he's referencing the New York City blackout of 1977, which took place on July 13th through 14th. And blackouts seem to be most frequently occurring during the summer when the power gets overloaded with all the air conditioning units. Also, bugs. Bugs are always most active during the summer. Now, I just tried to explain how each of the story segments is definitely a summer-themed story, but honestly I didn't really need to do that, because, as we've already established, the wraparound segments take place in October. The Garbage Men find the comic and made a note about how the voodoo doll has already been sent away from. And everyone knows that back in the day, whenever you ordered something from a comic book, it would take 6 to 8 weeks for delivery, sometimes even longer than that. But even if it was delivered in 7 weeks, splitting the difference, the voodoo doll would have had to been ordered in August for it to arrive by October. So, that right there, without a doubt, confirms that the in-universe comic in Creepshow is a summer issue, and so therefore that means that Creepshow in and of itself is a summer horror movie.